Hi guys, it's Bill, and I'm going to do something really fun today. I'm going to make a white cake. Used to be an old staple I made all the time. Got the idea from my grandmother because that was her thing, white cakes. So I'm going to roll back into history like 55 years ago. Biggest thing is I thought I'd do something a little different. Usually when I'm putting a recipe together, I've got a lot of stuff prepped. And I don't want you to think that it's, sleight of hand or I don't do it the same way you do it. So yes, I've got my mixer standing here, but first let's set everything aside and I'm going to show you how any shortcut I can to prepare to make anything. Because when you're baking, it's a little more scientific. You got to be a little more on the ball. So let me get this beast out of the way. It's like hitting the rewind button. So basically I'm going to show you what you don't usually see. First of all, yes, there is a recipe. Yes, I do go over it and review it and make sure that everything falls in place and I have all the ingredients and all the ingredients are ready. In fact, guess what? I forgot to get the butter out of the freezer, so yes, I had to scramble this morning to get it together. Next thing is, even though I've put the recipe together, kind of put it in sequential order to make it easier, sometimes when I'm standing here I go, that doesn't really work right. I read it 100 times so it's in my head. Sometimes I just need prompts of, how much of each thing. So first off, what I want to do is I'm looking and I'm saying I've got to mix together some buttermilk and some neutral oil. Well, what's neutral oil? Vegetable oil, whatever. I use canola, same difference. And so I need half a cup of buttermilk. And normally, I'm going to be a little more careful how I do this so that it's accurate. And I flubbed that one up. Put a little air in it, so I'm going to have to be a little more careful. See, this is... And the reason I do most of this stuff ahead of time is just for things like this. And especially if I'm trying to talk and look in the camera, it makes it even harder. Alright. And I like having something I can look at pretty eye level. And yes, so that's going to be it. Now, buttermilk's going to stick, so I just want one tiny splash. Because sometimes you see me, I'm sitting there really trying to work out every little drip. So if I have just an extra splash, I can pour it in. And I always have some paper towels kind of handy for me. So I'm going to grab one right now because I have a paper towel dispenser on the other counter, so it's always within reach. And I know I got to reuse that one. So what do I need to do next? Well, so I don't have to sit here and wash everything and redo, and I'm just going to set that on my way. Bringing things into, my line of fire and taking them out really helps me. So now I want half a cup of neutral oil. I'm going to try it here, see how good I can do this. Oil's a whole lot easier to pour. Jeez. Unless you're blind. And yes, I usually am just getting the oven on. Sometimes it drives me crazy because the oven's going to sit on for quite a while before we actually do anything. And this is kind of why I don't bake a lot, is because I usually don't feel I need to be this accurate. But in this case, yes I do. You can either tell me it was the most boring video you saw, or maybe you learned something. That's perfect. Okay. So in the meantime, I need to mix it together. Well, oftentimes you'll see me, I'll have like a little bowl and I'll have some kind of a stirring device. I'm done with this, so it's out of the way. Some kind of, mixing device. So for this, I would use a fork. And I just want to kind of give it the once over, so when I pour it out, it doesn't look really funky. Alright, that's done. Normally this is where I'd say, and you set it aside. Okay, so I did that. Then what I need now is I need 5 egg whites. Well, so I have my eggs. Now I gotta make whites. Well, remember, always put the whites in a separate container and then mix them in, right? And this is my handy dandy egg separator that I got. And I'm gonna just take my time. And normally I would just have like a whole dozen eggs sitting here, but it takes up room, so I thought, what the heck? I know that a lot of people on YouTube make more money telling people how to do a better job than actually teach or show them how to make something. That's the new trend, right? And you don't have to be perfect, but I do want to get quite a bit. You really can't afford to miss a whole lot of the egg white and still have a white cake. Alright. So now, 1. So you want to know a secret? I only have 5 eggs, so I don't lose count when I'm trying to stare in the camera, right? Things can get hectic, so don't mess up. And really appreciate someone made a comment. They finally took my advice and they took one of my recipes and tried it because they had the ingredients in their cupboard already. And that's exactly what I tell people. You don't have to run out to the store unless you're specifically trying to make something. Come on. And the other thing is, when you're filming, sometimes you can't get things to play along. Sometimes it's very unscripted of what to do. Dose. And I also have a spare one of these in case I do get a broken egg yolk. Try and keep your work surface clean. Hopefully this doesn't take too much longer, or I'll edit some of this out. also, if you use an egg separator, you get to really know how to push the limit. Get as much egg white out. Oh, and you see when you're not paying attention. And yes, that was a good save. It was actually planned. Just wanted you to see I could do that. That's why I have to do this stuff ahead of time. And almost done. The other thing is I go along when I'm getting all the stuff prepped, it gives me a chance to get some of the dishes washed. And so my kitchen doesn't look like a battlefield. One more. Haven't had too many screw-ups yet. Alright, and this will be the hardest part. I mean, once I get through this, everything else is going to kind of fly. Alright. So. Now, I need to put 3/4 cup of buttermilk in here, and then we're going to put this back in the fridge. And I need a tablespoon of almond extract we're going to mix in here too, because this is where the flavor is going to come from. And don't accidentally put too much in or you'll be really sorry. So I'm going to keep it just a little below the level. Now when you're mixing wet stuff together, lots of times I'll have a clean paper towel and I'll just do boom. Sometimes I use my shirt. And all I'm going to do now, got egg whites, buttermilk, and almond extract. And it's funny, the almond extract really starting to bring out some wonderful smell. So I know my cake's going to smell good. Now remember, buttermilk has some cool properties, and it's really going to make this cake just sing. And just trying to get these egg yolks cut together. Not trying to make a meringue yet. Alright. So, before I get the mixer and put my dry ingredients together, because I'm always going to put my dry ingredients right into the mixing bowl. So, I've got everything in my mind is all good. Got my room temperature semi-melted butter sitting here. So once again, it's just kind of a little prep. But I did want to show you something. So, how I like to do my cake pans is shortening, make sure you get a good coverage on it, don't be scared, use your fingers. And then I put it in the fridge just to drop temperature a little bit. Then I cut out pieces of parchment paper, stick them in there, put shortening over it, and then I flour them real good. And just try not to leave a whole lot of excess flour. And before I pour it, I do that, you know, once around again to make sure. And you just dump out any excess into the sink. So I've got 2 of these. And I know I showed you this last time I tried to make a cake of some sort. I have a special tool. This is how you get the edge of the cake from sticking. It's actually used for auto body putty. I bought a clean one. Yes, it's clean. Never used it on a car before. Just cut a little slit, but it's very thin and tapered. So I go right around the pan and helps it come out, okay? Alright, so let's get back to work. So normally, this is where you'd be just tuning in. And if you fast forward it, I understand. Alright. So I'm going to take this right out the beater because it's going to make life easier. And what do I need? I need some cake flour. This is my cake flour. I need 3 cups. This is why I don't make you suffer watching me do this. Alright. And once again, something everyone's grandma probably taught them. Make sure you got a knife. Back of the knife. Cut towards you to fill in all the spots. Make sure nothing's stuck in the bottom. Once in a while you have one you didn't clean as well as you thought you did, and it'll be tragic. And I don't want to pack it. Just want to gently scrape across. Two. When you're baking, if you only do it occasionally, just keep an eye because your ingredients will go south on you. And that's 3. I need sugar. Sugar, honey, honey. So I need 1 3/4 cups. Well, I would probably do some guesstimating work on this, but on the other hand, I'm going to show you the right way to do this. Shake it just to make sure we're right up to the top. 1. Double check to make sure it says 3/4, so one isn't missing, you take one wrong and out of the stack. And 3/4. See, so I'm just killing it, dog. I'm just making this real. Make it real. So I know I need, because I already had it pulled out, salt and baking powder. So salt, we want a quart, no, just kidding. So you actually, for most things, you can cut the salt amount about half, okay? So I'm gonna put less than a teaspoon, because most recipes call for a teaspoon, and that's what my mother or my grandmother used, but I don't really need it. So there's probably between half and 3/4 of a teaspoon. Half's probably enough. Now, tablespoon of baking powder. I will tell you that sometimes it's a pain when these are brand new, this one isn't, to try and use this. It's kind of like got that self-leveling thing on it. And you got to use the bigger container. This really doesn't work. So what would you do if this didn't work for you? What would you do? How about 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon? So you could do 3 of these, right? But I'm going to perfect. Now, so I'm really done now. Everything's together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to combine it all. Make sure everything's fit together right. Put my paddle in. And the first thing I want to do is just gently mix my dry ingredients. Perfect. Beautiful. So now, what I'm going to do is, I've got my, do you remember when I did the oil and buttermilk? I want to make sure that's well mixed at this point because we're going to be using it in a second. Okay, because it really does separate. Alright, so now, first, I got my 1.5 sticks of butter. And don't be a loser. Always have a little spatula you can use. To get it in there. I need that spatula again, so I'm going to keep it right there. If you've ever made pie crust, so what we're doing is by adding that butter, we're going to make those little balls that happen when you make pie crust. That's exactly what I want. Alright, now I've got my buttermilk oil mixture and going to pour this in. Use my little spatula to get it all over myself. So, in reality, even though I haven't made this recipe in quite a while, I still have recollections, so it's just some basic chemistry, you know, putting things together. Alright. And not making a huge mess of myself. Well, that was going to laundry. Oil and buttermilk? Yeah. Alright. Let's get this well incorporated for a couple minutes. I do need to mix this really well. I'm not going to bore you, so we're going to cut it right here, and I'll be back as soon as I get this into a perfectly smooth mixture. Alright, so I got a perfect consistency. It's like almost like a ball of pizza dough or something, okay? What I want to do now is I'm going to take my egg mixture, the almond extract and the buttermilk, and I want to add this in portions. So I want to do like, don't get hung up on it. 3 to 4 cuts is all you need to make. Stay. Give this a good whipping. It's really working well. 2. Stuff's gonna kill me, be the death of me. Perfect. We're almost to cake batter consistency. Now I just want to make sure this is really well incorporated. Now if you ever made cake from a mix, which I only did like once in my whole life when I was a teenager, you could appreciate the difference in consistency. So I need to take another spatula and I just want to dig in here, make sure I don't have any dry stuff, because you know, I haven't put any stabilizers in here like you would in a cake mix. And it'll be pretty easy to screw up. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple more seconds of mixing. So you can see this, I'm going to get rid of my giant. By the way, those things go on sale for the holidays, for whatever, cheaper on Amazon, whatever. But it is worth the investment. Hand mixture would take you all day long trying to do this. Smells so good. And I just like the almond versus the vanilla. I think it just gives it a little more decadence. But if you'd rather, you could put almond in. I don't, you know, if you want to surprise everyone, put like some other kind of flavoring in. I don't typically do that because I'm not trying to surprise them with all of a sudden, you know, fruit punch, citrus. Okay. So, what's the last step? Got my cans, right? Pans. Now, you can't fill these to the brim, right? Or they're just going to cook all over the place. If you're unsure, always take a big full sheet jelly roll pan, cake pan, whatever you want to call them. put it in the rack underneath these in the oven. We do not want this burning up because it's going to put some fragrance in this that we don't really want. And I just want to go back and forth. Another country heard from. Now if you're nervous of doing this, you can put them on the scale and weigh them out, but I'm thinking as long as I can get another scoop out of here, this is going to be perfect. Now, I don't want to roll this around a whole lot because I don't want the flour that is going to be the way of getting it out to adhere and run all over and, you know, leave bare spots on my cake pans. And you do want heavy cake pans. I really feel like they insulate the heat better, keep it baking more evenly. Alright. So, that one's good. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is a really even, give or take an ounce or two. I want these in the oven, 40 minutes. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these beautiful cakes. See you back in 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to be starting to make the icing. Okay, cool. But I do want to show you. I put one of these racks on top of the cake pan, flipped it over, came out beautifully. Can't complain. Temperature, good. I can touch them. And of course, you always got to be careful because they could have a lot of crumbs on the edges, but that's okay. I'll show you how we're going to deal with that. So back to the icing, and I'll try and remember to turn down all the volumes when I'm going through this. But anyway, I got 4 egg whites, okay? And I'm going to get that mixing up. I want to just get it up until it has a nice shape to it. It's going to take about 45 seconds. The syrup part I've already cooked. It's a cup of water, 3 tablespoons of corn syrup, 3 cups of sugar, and don't forget that teaspoon of cream of tartar, okay? So that's basically this really amazing simple sugar. We want it still warm, but we, you know, because we want it to crystallize again. And if it gets too hot after we mix it, we can put the whole thing in before I finish the mixing in the refrigerator. All right, so here we go. This is on. Yeah, you gotta definitely check it out. Almost, not quite, but we really broke it down now, so I'm just gonna give it a few more seconds. Okay, now it's definitely got some nice foam to it. It's got some consistency to it. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to get it back on high. And once again, I will edit this down. But I'm going to get it back on a pretty good clip and I'm going to slowly pour in my, my syrup mixture, okay? Yum, yum. So, just like I've made before, I want to check the consistency. It should be pretty darn thick. What do you think? Yeah. So, what I always check for is how warm is the bowl. And actually, it's not as warm as it was last time, so I think we did a better job. Last time I throw it in the fridge for a few minutes. You can't refrigerate it till after you start the process. You got to get those eggs and sugar combined with a cream of tartar. Then, and only then can you put it in the refrigerator, and then you'll have to finish whipping it afterwards. So let me get my mixer. Alright, so what do we do? Well, I'm going to check my cakes. They are fragile. Just going to take my hand, make sure I get some of the crumbs off, or it's going to end up in the icing. Just be delicate. So I got cardboard cutout. I actually bought one because everyone's making fun of me. And you just have to be gentle, okay? Just want, and remember, top goes down first, right? And da-da-la. So I'm going to get my scooper because I don't want to contaminate. If I get some crumbs on my spatula, so what I need to do, just making sure, one last check, best marshmallow ever. And it does take a whole 5 minutes, that's why I stopped the video. Last time I just edited it down, I'm like, this time I'm just going to stop the video. And I did add the tablespoon and a half of vanilla. Okay. Imagine doing it with a hand mixer. Alright. So this stuff is lighter than air. And remember, you just want a nice, even coat. Don't be stingy, or when you bite into the cake, there's going to be nothing in the middle. Now I'm going to just put some on top. That's probably enough. And we don't have to be, I want to make sure I get it out to the edge. I'm not worried about the edge yet until I put the second layer on there, right? This stuff is so weird to work with. It's like when you make real marshmallow, instead of like, you know, store-bought, those are like dense and full of stuff to keep them from sticking together. That's fun. And this cake is so light. If you tried this with a really dense cake, it would just smush it all together. So, cake number 2. Same thing, I'm just gonna check for one little crumb right there. It'll get buried, trust me. I just want to get any excess off so we don't. Okay. Let's go back to doing what we were doing before. Now I have that other meringue dressing I've made before that has the butter in it. Definitely would hold up if you're nervous about doing this. But this is kind of more fun. I'm going to do the mountaintop thing. No, I'm just kidding. Always want to have all the icing that you need on top before you start. Now here's where the fun comes in. I want one side of my spatula clean, and I'm going to load the other so I can start doing the sides. Okay, here we go. And if you make a real mess, just make sure you have another piece of cardboard to transfer it on. Don't worry, it'll start looking like cake in a minute. Got some crumbs there. Make sure you clean up and eat all your mistakes. We're getting there, right? Go on.
Huh.
you were to wanted to decorate this, the only way you could do it would be to really chill it down. And then you could put decorations on top. There, there. Make heaven for 7-Eleven. Of course, they're stuck my finger, right? Working on a side I can't see. Can I do it? See why making cakes is so much fun. Alright, so you go once around to get this. Find a bald spot. That's exciting. I'm actually glad you're watching this. And that was a little bit of crumb that was showing through. So you do two things. One is work it around. And I took a big piece out, so I'm just going to. All right. And the icing is definitely setting, it's cooling. And it's telling me that much icing or I shifted the whole cake. Isn't that a beauty or a beast? Best cake ever. You can make it look as pretty, or it doesn't have to be pretty. Doesn't really matter. Just try it. This is so fun to make, so great. And eating the icing is even better. So you have a great day, and I'll figure out something else good we can make. See you next time.